Hey everybody, Justin White here with Mateen Cleaves, and you are about to listen to episode number 13 of Power Forward. Mateen, I know you are super pumped for this one because our guest is none other than Michigan State head basketball coach Tom Izzo. You played for him, you won a national championship with him. For those out there who aren't familiar with Coach Izzo, what makes this guy such a dynamic leader?
Well, the best leader I've ever been around in my life, and he lead in different ways. You know, some people may say, well, is he so motivational? Yes, he is, but the best thing about Coach Izzo, he gets the absolute best out of his players that I've ever seen anyone else do. You know, he is, and the thing about it, the care factor. That's what makes him such a great leader. He cares about the people that he's leading, and he's able to get the best out of them. So I've been around a lot of leaders, but Coach Izzo is probably the best leader I've ever been around in my life.
Wow, that's impressive stuff. And you talked about the care factor, how much he cares about his players. He talks a lot about that during the course of our conversation and how that helps him earn the trust of his team. And it's not just, Mateen, those basketball lessons too. It's lessons that you can translate really to any walk of life or any business or any job.
Exactly. And I think that's what another thing that separates him from a lot of coaches is the fact that it's not all about basketball. He's training and teaching young boys how to be young men. And I think some of the life values that he's teach, being on time, being cordial, hard work, things like that, I think that helps people go on to be able to have success in their life.
Good stuff. It was an incredible opportunity for us to be able to talk to Coach as the Michigan State Spartans are about to open their season. Oh, by the way, they are the number one team in the country going into the season. So exciting times for Coach Izzo. Without further ado, here he is, Tom Izzo on Power Forward. The primary purpose of this podcast series is to inform, entertain, and educate. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast series do not constitute legal or other professional advice, opinions, or endorsements of any kind.
This is Power Forward.
All right, Justin White and Mateen Cleaves with you, and we are very, very excited to welcome to the podcast the head coach of the Michigan State basketball team. Tom Izzo is with us. Coach, welcome to Power Forward.
Well, I appreciate it, guys. Anytime we're talking about leadership, I need some help, and you got a good man there in Mateen to help me.
Oh, he's one of the best, that's for sure. Coach, let's get this straight. You are entering your 25th season as the head coach of Michigan State. This is the 20th anniversary of the 2000 National Championship team. And oh, by the way, this year's team is one of the favorites to cut down the nets this season. So other than that, not a whole lot going on for you, right?
Not a whole lot going on. If Mateen would have made a few jump shots, we would have won back-to-back. But he made them when it counted, boy, in the big game in 2000. And, it is kind of exciting. It's a shame that it seems like it's taken a long time, but we've been back knocking on the door. And I think in any kind of business or sports, you got to keep knocking at the door, and sooner or later that door opens again. But it's not easy, It's not easy to be the best at what you do, and to be the last team standing, as most team was in 2000, takes what we're talking about today. It takes incredible leadership, and I think that leadership, especially in business, you think it starts with the boss, the head coach, or whatever, but I think leadership is something that you got to convince your organization that, as I said, the players play the game, and a player-coach team is better. When the employees and everybody else buys into being leaders and buys into that, I think you got something special, and that's what Mateen did for me. He kind of carried the locker room, the hotel rooms, the airplanes, the different things over the years when, the boss is never around all the time. The employees are, and that's why I think sometimes we make a big deal about the boss being the leader, and sometimes I think it's the people within, and that's what I like about what he's doing there, and that's what I like about teams of any kind that stress leadership throughout, not just at the top.
And Coach, it's funny that you say that. And when I think about you, I look at like other assistant coaches that you've had that went on to be great head coaches, your captains. Like, it's like you delegate, you empower so much. You empower so many people to lead. And we have some leaders that's listening to this podcast. And how would you encourage them to trust and delegate? Because you've had coaches that go on to do great things and other leaders. So how would you go about that?
That is $1 million question, and I think more than leadership, you said the keyest word of all right now, and I think it's more so every day than it was even when you came out, Mo. When you came out, it was still, I think people believed in titles. If you were president of something, if you were the head coach, if you were the boss, if you were the father figure, your title kind of gave you respect. I said, one thing you guys taught me, and I mean this sincerely, is titles don't gain respect. It's the trust that you have with that individual that gains respect. And sometimes we want to say, hey, I'm the head coach, respect me. Hey, I'm your administrator, respect me. Those days are kind of over, and I don't mind saying that. I don't mind that I have to earn the trust of my freshmen every year. What I have is I've been so fortunate here that our culture is pretty good, so our upperclassmen know it because guys like you and Magic and Steve Smith and all the different guys from the different eras come back and share their experiences, and I think that's what's really critical. You don't trust somebody that you don't trust.
Right.
So when I trust somebody and empower them, I guess is the word you're talking about, which I think is very critical in an organization. Do you empower your people? You don't empower your people unless you trust them, and you usually don't trust them unless you spend time.
Wow.
And that is what I think is my strongest suit. I mean, how many late night talks we had.
Oh, yeah.
You'll know today we have late night talks. I mean, if you don't have time, and it gets harder. It gets harder when you have a family. It gets harder when you go from just an assistant to a head coach, when you go from a head coach of a average program to a program that is nationally ranked. It's hard to maintain. It gets harder when your organization gets bigger. When you were here, Mo, we had when I was a GA, I was the strength coach. I was the academic person. Now we have an academic person. We have a strength coach. We have a nutritionist. Well, we have a lot of new people, which can be an advantage, but it's more people you have to spend time with if you're going to empower those people. So I think great leaders have to be able to get people to trust them. And the way you do that is to spend time with them.
So we know how important trust is to you, Coach. We also know that you have extremely high standards for your players. When it comes to holding your team accountable, whether it's in business or in sports, what do you think are the keys there?
Well, I think you got to have people with the same dreams and goals. Again, it's easy to relate to Mateen because when I recruited them, everything around this state was the Fab Five. They were coming off that. It was a good place to go, and rightfully so. But I tried to convince him we can play the toughest schedule. I can get you on TV. We can win a national championship. I'm not sure I believed it as much as he believed it, but we had a common goal, and that's why no matter what I do my entire life, there'll never be a moment like on the floor with him and I watching One Shining Moment. That was his dream. It was his dream when he played on the blacktop back in Burston Fieldhouse, when he played there, when he played in, high school. That's been the dream, to hear One Shining Moment. That was my dream, to do something very few people get to do. So you have to have people that are driven. If people are just punching a clock, as they say, I would have a hard time leading them or coaching them. So that's where the time comes in. You gotta explain to people that you're out for them too. You don't want them to help you get a great company. You want to help them kind of reach their dreams and goals too. One of his dreams was to win a national championship. One of his dreams to be Player of the Year. One of his dreams to get his jersey hanging. One of his dreams was to get to the NBA. He got a chance to accomplish all those dreams. And meanwhile, my program benefited from it enormously. Just like I think a company would benefit from the success of his employees, as long as they go hand in hand. Sometimes, in this day and age, players want to be successful without teams and programs being successful, or maybe there's some coaches that want to be successful without helping their players be successful. I think those are bad deals.
Oh, yeah. And, Coach, I think about this because I've been around you, and you have such a great balance. And what I mean by that is I've been around other people, they're player coaches. I mean, everybody love them. I mean, the players love the coaches, but they don't win. The players love them. Great guy, but they're not holding them accountable. You got some players that some coaches that hold guys accountable and the players, but don't never show their appreciation for the players and the effort that they give on a daily basis. For you found that balance. And my question to you is, did you always have that? And when you found it, why is it so important to have that balance, Coach?
Well, in my case, I came from a small town, and you and I used to laugh in meetings. We kind of came from opposite ends of the world. I'm up in the UP where, it's an area with not much diversity. It's an area that, people grow up to work in the mines and stuff like that. But, a lot of people grew up in front to work on the line too, So we had things that were similar, but they were different. And I look at the balance of it takes some discipline to be great, and everybody wants to be disciplined. And I think how we were raised, I was telling a story this morning. I said, hey, don't think Mateen, didn't go through his period where he was mad at me sometimes. I remember on the court at Penn State when you were mad at me and looking over at me, and your mother almost came out of the stands to tell you, don't look at him that way.
Yeah.
We all need people to help us. And when you got a bunch of people working together for the same goal, I just think we're such a selfish society now. We don't look out for each other enough, Listen, I gotten a lot of accolades here. I've made a lot of money here. I've got a lot of stardom here. It's all because of my players. I've never shot a shot here, Mateen. I've never made a basket. I've never had an assist. I've never guarded anybody, and I've never shot a free throw here, And,
right.
And it's the players that play the game. And I think in business, you can be on the top of that business. You can be the president of that company. But the grunt people are the ones that do the work. And I think, your teams, your group, because that was my first couple of years, made me realize that I could work 26 hours a day. And if I don't get through my people to work for me, it doesn't do any good.
Right.
And I think it's vice versa, too. I think, experience helps. Like now, I look at my players and I see some guys that I think are NBA players, but they don't work hard enough. You guys dedicated yourself. You were on a mission, what you wanted to accomplish. That's why we went to 3 Final Fours. That's why we won 4 Big Ten championships. It was a mission, and there was never a satisfactory moment, which I think separates the really, really, really good from the rest. Why do the Patriots and Tom Brady do what they do?
Right.
Why did even Draymond out there, how can they win 3 or get to 4? How does LeBron get to 6? How do they get there time after time? And that's one thing we haven't done perfect, but boy, we've been to 8 Final Fours in 24 years. That's one every 3 years. And I think consistency is what you're looking for in sports, in business, in anything. You're not always going to win it, but are you knocking at that door with a chance to? And that's the consistency that needs some balance and needs people working together.
It's interesting that you bring up the Patriots and the Warriors, and whenever you hear those guys talk, it's always about what's next. It's never about what they've already accomplished, the Super Bowls, the championships,
Right.
the rings, all the accolades. As a leader coach and, looking at it from sports and also a business perspective, how important is it to have that tunnel vision on what's next and what your goals are as opposed to anything else that you may have accomplished?
Well, it's just proven. It's proven time and time again. It's easy to see it in the sporting world. How many repeat? How many Celtics back in the day when they won 10 of them? How did John Wooden win 10 national championships? Every time I think I accomplished something, I say I'm 9 behind. And if you are really driven to be elite, then I say I get into my 3 L's. Do you like what you're doing? Do you love what you're doing? Or do you live what you're doing? And I really do believe in the 3 L's. And I think that to be elite, you almost got to live it. And you got to live it and then try to have some balance. But, you look at, when Magic played and Riley was there, he was like Mateen said, he wasn't a player's coach, but he did things for the players. He appreciated the players. I think in business, if you're just a boss that lets everything go, you're probably not going to be good enough to be elite. But if you're just a boss that's driving every day and not rewarding your people or not appreciating what they do, you got problems too. So I think his thing on balance was really critical. And the problem is, too, you're also trying to balance your own life. Like I've said here a million times that I struggle because I probably put my job in front of my family more than I would like to admit. But then again, my family is part of it because they get the benefit from some of the trips or the money I've made or the different things. So everybody's got to sacrifice and everybody's got to help. And when my wife has her team over and does stuff there, that's part of her sacrifice. When I'm not there for my son's game, that's part of my sacrifice. Everybody's got to do a little bit of it if you're going to be at the elite level, which I think we're trying to do here and he's trying to do there.
Coach, we know that every team is different, every season is different, and certainly the dynamic varies from season to season. Sometimes your best players are also your best leaders, but that's not always the case. So the question is, when you're looking at identifying leaders, even when it comes to players who probably aren't going to go pro, how do you do that?
I put a picture of Magic and Mateen up, and I say, this is the best this school's ever had. They were effervescent guys. They were guys that weren't afraid to call their best friends out. We were talking about a situation today with a couple of players on something that happened at the Palace many years ago that Mateen was involved with. It can be your best friends. It can be... those are very special human beings. And I got to say that if there's one thing in 20 years that have changed the most, and I still think the social media and Twitter and all those things change it, people don't communicate as well and people don't lead as much. They're, afraid to step outside the box a little bit. And that's been difficult for us. I mean, I've had some good leaders, after Mo, there, Travis Walton was a good leader. Draymond was a pretty good leader, and Denzel and Tom were pretty good leaders, but I got to admit, when your best leader is your best player, it really helps, and that's what helped us in the late 90s and 2000. But I'm also a big advocate of this, guys, and I really believe in this. I think most parents love people that lead by example. I almost despise people that lead by example. I don't think it has any value except hoping that somebody else is watching while somebody's doing it the right way.
Wow.
I love people that lead by dragging them with them, Come on, man, come on with me. I'm going to lead you to the promised land. I'm going to do this and help you. You're going to be with me. It's like every day I don't like when a player's in there by himself working out. I like when he's got 3 or 4 guys, because I know 2 or 3 of those guys don't really want to be in there, but that guy has helped make him better. And we say around here, great players play great, but elite players make other players better than they actually are. And that's what I think can happen in business too, that the great leaders, if you can find them, they have a way of rallying people around them. And don't just lead by doing it right, because the only way that works is if somebody else is watching you. And, you're in a big company, or you're in a program like ours, everybody's not always watching. So I hate that. That's a bad word, hate, but I despise my son leads by example.
Yeah.
Oh, because he does what you're supposed to do. He gets good grades. He goes to the workout. I'm looking for more than that. That can make you good. I'm looking to be elite, and if you want to be elite, you got to do more than that.
Wow. And I have to piggyback on that real quick, because I remember being a sophomore, I just became an All-American, and we lost in the Sweet 16 to North Carolina. And I remember sitting in the locker room, and I was a little agitated because we lost the game. And I thought some other guys probably should have played better, but even myself, I thought I could have played better, but other guys as well. And I remember, Coach, I remember you walking up to me and said, well, why are you mad? And I'm like, well, we lost the game. You said, well, you walked by this guy, that guy, and that other guy's dorm room that summer when you got better, but you didn't bring anybody to the table. You didn't bring nobody to the gym and to get them better. Now we're in a game where we needed their services and they weren't equipped to deliver. But if you really look at it, is that your fault? Because you walk by their dorm rooms every day and didn't bring nobody to the gym with you. And I never forget when you did that, Coach. That was a turning point in my career.
Hey, I got goosebumps on my arms when you said that, and I swear to God, because not only did you do that, but we said you became the Pied Piper then. If you guys were going to a movie, going out to eat, it was mandatory. Even if somebody wanted to be with their girlfriend, or somebody wanted to do this, or somebody wanted to do that. And I think that was the start of us becoming the team of all teams, and then getting our program where we needed to get it, because the culture then, where the family atmosphere, the players coming back, the realizing you have an obligation to other people, not just yourself. And so I said this when Mateen graduated, that sometimes coaches teach players what to do. That's our job as a teacher, as a coach, to teach players. But sometimes players teach coaches how to be. And I felt like that's why we've had this special relationship. He taught me a lot about the inner city, a lot about his culture, a lot about what it was like. And we seemed to be different color, from different ends of the world, from different this and that, but we had a common bond. It was the love of basketball and wanting to be successful. And I think that's what you look for in business too. You look for people that want to make your company successful, but then want to make themselves successful. If you don't have personal goals, like I say all the time, I have team goals and I have personal goals. But some people, I remember coaches way back, it was team. I don't do that. I say that if we have team goals, that's my job. We have personal goals, that's the player's job. And to me, a good coach has the ability to, or a good leader has the ability to put the two together and not compete against each other, instead help each other. And I think that's what I learned back then, as we got people together, from A.J. Granger to Charlie and Mateen and Morris to Antonio to Jason Richard, to different people from different areas with a common goal. Boy, if you get that, you got something special. And the only way you can do that is, like he said, everybody works together and believes it. Instead of 2 guys in the gym, all of a sudden there's 8. You kind of look down and say, well, we got something special here.
And Coach, you said something, and I want to hit just on it real quick. How important is it, and this goes in business, this goes with teams. I always said the best teams I've played on the guys, we had such a camaraderie. We hung out together outside of basketball. We spent time together. And I try to encourage some of our leaders here at our company is, do things outside of work. You don't have to make it work. Every time we have communication or we're together, it shouldn't be all about work. And I try to encourage our leaders to do things with their team members outside of the job. How important is that when you're talking about building a culture and building that team chemistry?
Well, I think it's very important. I think it's maybe the number one point of this whole lecture here. I think that proves that you have a sincere interest in a person, not a product. The product for us is the game, the team, the this and that. But if you have interest in the person, maybe when your son's birthday is, or when your wife's anniversary is, or if other people know what's going on with your personal life like that, I think that separates you from the ones that are just checking the box or punching the card. And I couldn't agree with you more. It is getting harder too. You look in NBA or NFL locker rooms, and we have to have now no phones in there, or we'd have to say we're going to have a meeting, no phones, or we're going to go on a bus trip, we're going to collect the phones for half it, so we can kind of make guys communicate and talk about different things. We have a unique thing here this year, something I've never been through either. I got 2 guys married.
Oh, wow.
I think some of you guys were married back then, though. You guys are kind of whipped on your girl.
I was married to the game.
That's right. Great answer.
But I think we've got that, and so Xavier, who's married with a little child, is been such a good example. He's taught me stuff. He has the kids over to his house because it's not as easy for him to go out. They go over and play cards, or they play with his little 2-year-old. It's really kind of brought me in another venue. Learning how to deal with something else. So there's something I didn't help Xavier with, he's helped me with. So I've been really lucky, guys, in this job, and I think whether you're in business, whether you're in sports, whenever you're dealing with other people, everybody's a little different. And it took me a while to learn that. I give Mateen, you credit for when I came here. I mean, like I said, I had no idea. I give Mike Garland, who's probably my second best friend to Mariucci. When I met Mike my freshman year of college, it was the first black man I ever met. I mean, you think about that, it sounds crazy, but you gotta understand, living in the UP, most people from Flint, they were smart enough not to go up there in the snow, so they stayed down, But if you think about that, Mike taught me so much, and then you from a different side of things. I just learned so much from so many people. You don't learn from people if you don't talk to people.
Right.
And you ain't going to do that talking business, because that's a common denominator that's easy. You can get away. Everybody loves basketball if you're a basketball player, basketball coach. But, I got to deal with Xavier knowing that maybe I got to change practice a little bit because his daughter's sick, or maybe I got to do this. And you know what? There are little adjustments that show you care that have no impact on the product still,
Right.
If I practice at 3 or at 5, it doesn't affect my product, it doesn't affect my team. So I think this is, all the things we talked about is so good about leadership, but it's also about learnership. You got to lead, you got to learn, you got to continue to evolve, you got to change once in a while without changing the principles of what you believe in. And you're going to find this out now. As you get older, people call you old school, or new school. I don't want to be old school or new school. I want to be right school or wrong school. So I still want to do what's right.
So, Coach, we've talked about so many of the parallels between business and basketball. And I got to ask you, because you recently wrote the foreword for Matt Ishbia's book. It's called Running the Corporate Offense. And, of course, Matt is our CEO, a former player of yours. And the book is focused on how he has successfully applied what he learned as a basketball player under your leadership to the business world. So what is it about your coaching or your approach to player development that prepares these guys for life after basketball?
Well, like I said, I think it was a mix. I think they prepared me. I prepared them. I think what you learn here, whenever you play for a championship, and that's championship, can be a different word in business and different word. It means at the end of the day, are you one of the best? Are you the best if you try to win the whole thing? Are you the best? And to do that, I think there's no shortcuts. It's pretty standard, and that's what I said I've watched him do. I watched him start out. I watched his dad. I watched where he was at the beginning. I've watched him grow it. I've watched him grow his organization, and I don't think there's any question that, I'm not sure I taught him any of that. I think a lot was his father, but I do think he uses sports approaches, when he has his little teams and each team branches off, and the things that they do, I think is it gives you a chance that even as big as your company grows, you still have your groups, and then your groups are responsible for that group, and then you move forward, and that's kind of what a team is, even breaking it down. You have your guard groups, your forward groups, your centers groups, you have your offense, your defense, and eventually what the boss does is he tries to put all those little parts together and make for a championship organization. I think he's probably saw that here, although I'm still mad at him for missing that layup at the end of the game that would have put us in the 90s. He scored 89 that night. I'm still mad at him for that, but hopefully he's worked on his layup skills in the meantime.
I don't know. I'm not sure much time he has for basketball these days, right, Mateen?
Oh, man, he's super busy, Coach. He's running around there. He's crazy every day.
Tell him your balance deal. To get him to balance a little bit,
Exactly.
Just tell him to go down in that gym and make a layup every once in a while. It was a reverse layup. Teach him how to do that, and then you've given him something, and he's given you something.
Yeah, and before I let you go, Coach, I got to say this because I've been around a lot of people, man, and CEOs to coaches and whoever it is, and you, I think, had the blueprint on getting the best out of your players. And I think it starts with the fact that how much you care about people. People always ask me, why did you play so hard for Coach Izzo? Is he a motivator? What did he say before games? And no knock to you, Coach, but a lot of stuff I don't remember what you said before games, but I knew that you cared about me, so I would want to go over and beyond for you. So for the listeners that we have in, that's something you might want to adapt. If you're leading people and they know you care about them, you can get the best out of them.
Well, you know what? That goes back to that communication thing we talked about, spending time with people and understanding your dreams and my dreams. And I have a thing on my desk, that is older than, it's older than a lot of people. But it's that line that says, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yes.
And what a great line that is, what a great saying that is, because it is true. We don't just get to dictate what people do anymore. We have to make them believe that we're trying to help them, they're trying to help us, we're in this together. And sometimes, the guy at the bottom, I'll still say to the day I leave this job, the national championship you won, the janitor in our building has got a national championship ring because he mattered to me. He helped open the gym up late at night for you guys. He helped do some things. He kept it clean. He mattered to me. I knew how much he cared about us. I wanted to show him how much I cared about him. And I think that, boy, especially when your companies get bigger, your organizations, like here now, we're bigger than we were when you were here. Right. We got more things going on, more people. More people aren't always good if they're not on the same page. And it's our job to keep everybody on the same page. So showing them you care, I think, is really, really important. You and I got to share a tear together. We're supposed to be two tough guys that don't cry. We cried like 2-year-olds when we won that national championship because you remember all the work, all the meetings, all the nights. They all became worth it. And usually in life, you will get what you deserve at the end, and keep working, and your dreams can come true.
Well said. Coach, we really appreciate you taking the time for us. It's been great to hear your perspective and all the great knowledge that you have accumulated over the years. Thanks again, and we wish you the best of luck this season.
Well, I appreciate it, guys, and we'll all try to win our championships. How's that?
Let's go.
Everybody,
let's get them, Coach.
Go win.
All right, man. Let's go.
All right, baby.
I'll talk to you guys.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, man.
And thank you for listening. To make sure you never miss an episode of Power Forward, subscribe wherever you find your podcasts and leave us a review. And look for another new episode coming your way 2 weeks from now, featuring more inspirational stories of success. I'm Justin White. We'll see you next time on Power Forward.